Hey, good morning. I'm going to jump back into it. We've been working on some 3D font rendering. I did move a couple things around last night. Didn't spend very much time on this. I ended up watching some show on Netflix. Is it Disenchantment? I think it was. So I moved some of this into a one cell. Here we're lazy loading this static element. Got the glyphs, all the different characters stored in this hash map. Let's see what else we have. We also have, the font face being loaded. The purpose of that was to be able to move some of the code out of this text blob. I want to be able to have multiple text elements in space, but without having to worry about the overhead of rendering all of the elements in the multi-mesh all at the same time. I want to be able to have different labels that can operate independent of each other, so each one of these text objects is going to have their own set of multi-mesh instances, etc. Alright. Oh, I forgot to plug in my phone. Just give me a moment. Got plugged in. Alright. Got some errors here. This is expected, because I didn't finish what I was doing last night. This code here had been inside of the text blob, text structure. Let's clean this up. Oh yes, the return type is wrong. What's going on here is, before we were just concerned about inserting stuff into the hash map and not retrieving things from the hash map. So we're going to return. Let's see, this needs to be an option to referenced glyph. I don't think we want to copy that. Ooh, that's going to be interesting. So we have a mutex around this hash map. And the glyph is owned if it exists. So maybe we do clone that? I wonder how heavy that's going to be. The glyph itself has a glyph ID, a mesh, and then this element. Well, it has a ref to a mesh. The ref should be cheap to clone, except the whole unique bit. At that point, it should probably be shared if we're going to be having potentially multiple threads having access to this. Or let's check on this. Our array meshes, well, I think they're going to be reference counted, but the safety guarantees here, I don't think are what we want. We want to change this to shared. And then it should be cheap enough to clone. Okay. There's our glyph. I want to move some of this stuff out of here, like the glyph builder. Some of these elements to go into some other file. A source, font. Morning, Jummit. Move this over there. Just copy all these. Clear out the dead ones in a bit. We'll leave that. We're going to take the glyph builder. Goes down to here. Do the glyph too. Let's toss that in here. Hey, Togglebit. How are you, buddy? How have you been? Been a while. Welcome, everyone. Morning, Peyton Rules. Well, happy Thursday. It's still Thursday where you are. No, it must be. Probably just earlier in your day. Or later. Goodness, it's early today. I presume you were doing Rust today. You nearly always do Rust. So I can't think of a time when you didn't. Alright, take care, Togglebit. And thank you for the raid, buddy. I'm doing alright. Morning, Tommy Luco. And it's going to take me a moment. Abdelatif? Good morning. So I'm working on making a small game. And for those new to the channel, I think that today is still correct. Yep, there it is. So at the moment, we're working on improving the font rendering. I want to be able to create some 3D meshes, some meshes for a 3D space. We'll be using Godot along with Rust. So we're using GD Native, the Rust crate. Along with the Godot engine itself. So in the middle of moving some code, I finished cleaning that up here. Now this should be throwing an error. This is not correct. The return type's wrong. So let's make sure this is wired up right. There we go. It's black and white and goes round and round. A penguin in a revolving door. Well, why didn't the shrimp share? Because it was shellfish. Didn't. Oh man, we love some good puns. We try to keep it clean. Where's my notebook? Ah, found it. Okay, let's keep going. Get the notebook of puns up in a moment. All right, so in this case, we're going to be returning a glyph and potentially generating it. So when somebody asks this font data instance for a glyph, I'm going to get a lock, the global one, which is, well, itself. We're currently getting an entry. This code was just extracted from some other place. We have to fix that up. Now in this case, we're getting an entry or inserting with. Now this entry, what does this return? This returns, of course, the entry object, and the or inserted with returns a reference to the mutable reference to the value. Okay, so in that case, we might be able to just take the semicolon off and make it work. Ah, but it's a mutable reference. So that's going to be weird to have mutable reference to an option. Normally it would be an option to a mutable reference. Yeah, I tend to stream before work, so this is my fun time. I love programming in Rust, but I don't get to do that professionally. It would be a nice thing to do that professionally. All right, Tommy. Take care and happy Thursday. Probably be streaming for maybe 3 hours, 2 to 3 hours from now. Yeah, see, that's getting us a mutable reference, or rather an exclusive reference. And for those of you that are new to Rust, there is a fantastic write-up by, what was it, David Tolney? And if you want to read it, let's see, it's in crates.io. It's actually been published in the documentation. He tried to use docs.rs as a publishing platform. It's an interesting idea. So if you come in here and go into the documentation, you can see some of these elements and reference types. I think is a great one to go through if you are struggling at all with Rust's borrow checker. A bad joke. Well, you're free to tell one if you want, or you can be subject to one that I choose. Either one. Let's see. What do programmers do when they're hungry? They grab a bite. All right. Well, here's the link to it. This one really helped me. Oh, lifetimes. Oh, lifetimes. I think I've got a handle on lifetimes. I don't know, have you worked in a garbage collected language? I think for me, it's a little easier because of the time I spent in Java, right? Or I guess JavaScript. But Java, it had destructures. It had destructuring, um, destructors with destructuring. Now that I think helps a lot, knowing when things actually go away. Because if you imagine lifetimes are tied to when something gets destructured, and you expect that to just go away, right? That's, I think, a fantastic point. A fantastic way to be able to mentally understand when something's lifetime is done, right? That's when that thing fires. So you basically have to tie that lifetime and that thread of life around your code using lifetimes. So you can keep something alive, and then anything else that is kind of tied to that thread. You know, that's a horrible, horrible way to explain this. I apologize. Let's see. Let's jump back into this here while I think about how to explain lifetimes. All right, now I think there's a function on top of option that will let us actually flip this. I'm looking around on the left. Copy to expect, filter, flatten. Is it this one? Converts from option T or borrowed option T. So it's this one here as deref, and this one's as deref mutable. Okay, so we could toss that on there. But I don't want to give it a mutable glyph. A reference to a glyph I think would be fine. Either that or we clone it. Or do they have two owned? What is a movie Speed have no director? Because if it did, it would be called Velocity. Oh, bravo. Bravo. Well, the syntax that throws you. I think seeing that, like if you imagine that these things are always there, that's there right now. It's just being kind of hidden for us. There's a lot of syntactic sugar in Rust surrounding lifetimes. I think if that was, if you start to see it without the sugar, it becomes more clear what it's doing for you. I'm doing well today. It's a little bit cold in here. I ran out of heating fuel in the office, so coding with my gloves on today. Gotta go pick up some fuel later. But we're at 47 degrees Fahrenheit today. All right, so in this case, I am well, Krasing, thank you. Mr. Balrog, that's a good one. Oh, there we go. Start of the chat there. And what's going on with this one? No method glyph index. One face. Why not? The own face should have glyph index. So what was Togglebit doing today? And I miss watching his stream. Actually, it's going to be in TTF parser. I'm going to be taking the drawing instructions for a font and creating tessellated meshes using Leon Create. Here's face. Glyph index, it's right there. That should be there. Is it because it's not dereferenced? Lock entry or insert with. Huh. Did I change the type on accident? No, it's still an owned face. That should be alright. CH is still a char. Now let's fix the other errors and see what falls out of it. Syntax error, expected a block. Oh, there's a ampersand at the end there. No wonder. It looks like font face exists here. F-O-N-T-F-A-C-E. Yeah, that's there. But for some reason, when we import font data and have this public function on it, it doesn't want that. Oh, thank you. Yes, we're using... Oops, that's not it. Challenger Deep. Yeah. That is so weird. All right. Oh. Ah, the path is wrong. So this mesh here, this array mesh, starts out as array mesh unique. Now one thing that would be helpful at this point would be to rebind it. Let into shared. That should fix the type here. Alright, if we fix the other errors, does that... make that public? That's odd. Okay, this should be our lazily initialized static. That should be coming from font. Subconst font. And in lib we already have font. So we should be able to access that from our other modules. Well, it's because it's not compiling, most likely. Okay, let's deal with these errors, and then that other one should go away. Now, why do these functions not exist anymore? No method named glyph index. See, that should be there. What am I missing? Mutable self? Oh, you like the layout? Well, thank you. Then I stream at like 10 frames a second, etc. You're gonna go in about 2 hours? Okay. I appreciate that. So this glyph index. So we got a self font face. Oh, this is on the OS 10 branch, yeah, and I am on OS 10. Actually, I'm looking to switch out to a bigger, beefier machine, but I haven't yet. I keep looking at those Ryzen processors thinking, oh, I want to get something like that set up. Oh, you're setting up a Hackintosh. Well, that's cool. What hardware are you using for that? I think it's because this has to deref. Let me give that a restart. Oh, see, it is there. Well, the error is there. Owned face. Oh, I have to call face off of owned face. At least I think that's what it is. So if we come back in here, go back here. as face reference. Yeah, that's, you get the face reference. As face, as face ref. There we go. I wonder if we should take that out of there before we do this. Let's save that into a variable. I want to get that before we enter the lock. Oh shoot, it's still parsing. Oh wow. Ryzen and Threadripper. Their new Threadrippers are going to be beasts. Oh, that's cool. Oh, extract into variable, sure. Take that out of lock. And then same here. That's just going to reference that. It'll get moved in, but I don't want to reference self inside of there. Okay, so then we have that. We should be compiling now. Close some of these other files. Okay. Let's give that a go. And we should be able to load up Godot and run that. However, we are not producing a mesh yet. Let's see if we can get a glyph rendering. So let's see, what do? We got our font data into this structure, easily loading it. That way we can have different controls in Godot using the same set of font data. Converted the glyphs to have a ref to a mesh, an array mesh. There's our glyph. It has a glyph ID. That and that. I think we're going to have to pass through some other information. And I'm not sure that having the glyph here is going to be all that helpful. We'll see. The glyph ID, that is. Glyph builder should be done. And then we have our outline builder, which just passes through to functions on top of the path builder from Lyon. Okay. Oh. Font data is still not in that scope. I think that code is just wrong now. It should be right there. It's private. Oh. We could try to hide that. Probably not worth it at the moment. Alright, font data. What did they want the face here? Okay. Now at this point, this is where that code had been extracted from. Font data dot. So at this point, get the glyph for character. Then we can toss it into some of the structure that this class owns, this struct owns. Yeah. If let's oh, you know what? I'll try it this way. I died. Oh, look at that. So fancy. You're feeling so stupid, Red. Oh, if you have questions, ask your questions, man. I'm happy to discuss what I'm doing, so please interrupt. If you have any questions, let me know. I will explain the best I can. Oh, in my explanation about the lifetimes earlier, I think I was explaining it wrong because I kept thinking about it in terms of garbage collection, which it really isn't. Oh, it has nothing to do with the code. Okay. There's our glyph. Ecton Dev, how's it going? Long time, yes. How are you? Question, what is halloumi? How do you acquire it? Well, you make it. It's a cheese. It is so. I love like seasoned halloumi. Take some like smoked paprika on that. Oh my goodness, it's so good. That's one of the cheeses that we make here. We have some dairy goats, so we'll make fresh halloumi. Love grilled halloumi. So good. Anyhow, that got me thinking about food. I haven't even had coffee yet. So Ecton, we're working on rendering fonts in a 3D space. Yep, Pacific time. So my day starts about 10 a.m. here. Sometimes 9, it depends on the day. Okay, so here we'll have a glyph. Now this is a cloned glyph, and it's got a ref to stuff. And I've switched to decaf. I love the flavor of coffee. But it's hard to find good decaf coffee. So in here we've got the mesh. Oh, Ecton. Are you an hour ahead of me, Ecton? Are you central or I don't remember if where you are does Pacific time. You should know that. You should drive out to that area all the time. I think I like medium roast decafs better than French roast decafs. So we're gonna have to call assume safe on this to get a TRF to this. Is there a dot? Oh, they don't have one. Alright, do this. Okay, there we go. Now we have our mesh. You know, if we're just going to be cloning that, why can't we have a reference to a unique instance of this? This is a good Rust question. Well, Rust and Godot question. So inside of Godot, the GD native tries to represent safety information. Yeah, let's see. What's the best way to explain this? Godot is written in C++ and doesn't have the same sort of safety guarantees that Rust has. But using this pattern here, there's this cool pattern that I'm just blanking on the name here. Does anybody remember what the name of this pattern is? It's the Godot pattern that they have for ref. Wow, that's pink. Where's my dark reader? This is much better. Where is it? Okay. Macros, comprehend. Okay, yada yada yada. I thought it was in here. Is it not? Huh. All right, let's go to the user guide because I know it's in the user guide. But there's this crazy pattern that's actually being used inside of the Godot-Rust stuff in order to get the safety guarantees at compile time for the safety model that Godot-Rust has. All right, let's go into the migration guide. I think it might be in here. Got enums, yada yada, drive macros, argument casts. Come on, where is it? Object semantics. Type state pattern. There it is. There's this pattern is just cool that you can set up basically these different states for your generics so that you can represent at compile time the safety guarantees. You can use this for all sorts of things, but in this case it's being used for representing what is safe and what isn't safe on the API boundary. It's really neat. Yeah, it's type state pattern. Thank you, Cat Peasant. That's what this is here. So here we have a ref to an array mesh. Now here I said it was shared, but really we created it, so it's unique. Unique means that you own it, right? Like we have ownership of this element. Yes, now we can't clone the glyph, which might still be okay. We'll see. I think we're gonna have an issue with the mutex, but let's fix up this here. So it's not going into a shared element. Go back up to the top and where we were calling clone, which I think is right here. Yep. This isn't going to work. Now we're going to have type difference. So after that, we want to call, where is it? On the map. As ref. Change this to borrow, etc. Yeah, it's ref, not as ref. More than Eddie Bear. Happy Thursday. Not a mutable reference. That should have given me the right thing, I thought. Oh, no, put that at the wrong spot. That should be right after that. That should be off of the insert or with, not the insertion of the element into the hash map. Okay, so now we have that as a reference. Now, how's this working with the lock? Okay, now this is unique. We don't have assume safe on it. Or rather, we don't need to call assume safe. There's the mesh. We should be able to call the functions on that. Ooh, I have a bad feeling about this. If we comment that out, now we're going to get the lifetime issues that were plaguing us. Yeah, that's not used. That's fine. Cannot borrow immutable static item. Font data is mutable. There we go. Cannot return a reference to a temporary value. Which is why we were using the clone before. Of course, because this is a unique element. Oh, this is tricky. Well, we could go back to having this, where'd it go? As being shared. Is array mesh reference counted? Let's double check on that. Should be. Here we are. Lifetime of this object is automatically managed to reference counting. Great. Okay, so I'm not going to attempt a Ryzen Hackintosh. Actually, I'm going to attempt a FreeBSD machine. I'm going to go FreeBSD. I mean, I love the way that the trackpads work on these on the Macs. But I think for what I do most of the time, I'd rather have the horsepower and just a stable BSD machine. I like that, you know, Hackintosh is kind of BSD under the hood, right? If you go back to their origins. But I don't use a lot of what OS X provides. I find myself mostly in a terminal. Morning, Kappa Votes. How are you? Linux? Oh, are you talking about the Hackintosh page here? The one that Tommy sent from. No, that was you. Oh, you're using the Magic Trackpad too. Morning, Nightshade dude. How are you? Yeah, Togglebit rated earlier with like 100 people. It's crazy. All right. Sadly, I think I need to go back to having this as shared. I don't want to do. I wanted to try to isolate the unsafe bits. Oh, the Rust Beginners one. Yes, absolutely. So if you go into docs.rs, you can look up the Tolne. Tour de force of Rust programming prowess. This guy, just an amazing Rust dev. And the one I was specifically referencing was the reference types here, uh, 02. But I highly, highly recommend reading that to understand references and mutable references. Oops, didn't mean to do that. Side effect of wearing gloves in the office. Okay, so that's going back to shared. Bummer. Go to font. Mesh into shared. It's fine. Now there's going to be another over here. Because we're not cloning. Okay, let's go back into that function again. Take that out. It's not an ads ref anymore. We're just going to clone. There we go. That's clonable. It's ref counted. Good. Now coming back to where we were. Can't borrow that as mutable. Right. Is it not? Oh, that's right. We need a mutable reference to it because glyph takes mutable ref. Ooh, that probably needs to be in a mutex then. Which means I can bubble that mutex up a little bit. Let's move the mutex outside of this here. Come on. No. Now our locking needs to change and go up one. So it's not there. It has to be locked where it gets called. There. Oh, glyph is private. Let's fix that. Wait, that doesn't look private. Oh, private type glyph. Got it. I moved this out of that other file. There we go. Now we have our glyph. It's just that easy. Okay, so now that we have that and our mesh, call assume safe on that. We want a tref to our mesh. Right. So at this point, I want to set up let's see, I want to set up a multi-mesh. And that's a great question, Tommy. Don't browsers and FreeBSD, OpenBSD perform so horribly bad? So one of my other projects that I work on that I've spent, goodness, 1,000 hours on the stream programming on, has been a multiplayer game called Legacy. And I'll probably get back to that. I will get back to that after this game. But the idea in Legacy is that it's MMO, and I want to run the MMO on BSD machines, not Linux machines. So I don't really care how a browser performs. I usually use them for information, and as a web dev, I think that a lot of websites are overdone. Like, why are you downloading 5 MB of JavaScript in order to render some information? Um, so, which is also why I use SourceHut. So you can find some of my stuff over on SourceHut and some on GitHub. Most of the stuff that I've been setting up and have kind of released is available on SourceHut. Any specific reason for them to be on BSD and not on Linux? I've been using BSD since FreeBSD 3.2, and I'm comfortable with it. I'm also comfortable with Linux, but I think it's more for this, you know, ancient reasons that I like BSD more than Linux. Yeah, sorry, let's get back to the code, but I know Linux has gotten a lot better, but when I was using FreeBSD forever ago, like the internet was run on BSD machines. And then, of course, Linux came along, and now the internet's run on Linux. But if you look at a lot of the, let's see, some of the machines that run forever, usually BSD machines. It's not the same anymore, and it's probably some irrational reason that I'm using this. Like, why do I use Vim versus Emacs? Because it's just what I prefer. I guess it just comes down to that. I'm not against Linux or Emacs, but I guess BSD just feels more like home. So let's try and get this mesh attached to that owner. Okay, now we're gonna come in here, and I have an array mesh, right? Now, see, we just cloned this, didn't we? Can we just toss? Yeah, we could just toss an array mesh into Godot, can't we? So we did this. Or do we have to toss that into a mesh first? A mesh instance. Oh no, we can. Let's see if we can just do that. Let's add some children. A little programmer humor. What is a group of mutexes called? A deadlock. Yeah, I'm not gonna hop on the flame war at the moment. It's funny though. Now that one was told by SureShack55. There's some good ones out there. What's the object-oriented way of getting wealthy? Inheritance. Yeah, we're just gonna do that and see what blows up here. Is it not gonna let us do that? Oh, is array mesh not a node? Let's look at, this is one of my favorite ways to look at the type hierarchy here. You can see here, it's not a node. So we have to toss it into something else. Okay. So let's look at multi-mesh then. Multi-mesh also isn't a node. Can I add a multi-mesh? I can add a multi-mesh instance. Okay, so I need a multi-mesh. Let's shove these into a multi-mesh. So this text element, this screen is going to have hash map of multi-meshes. Where's my water? Ah, that's better. Okay, now we're also going to have a hash map of meshes. Multi-meshes? Multi-meshes. I don't know if I like this double lookup, but I think I have to do it this way because multi-meshes are all visible at the same time. And we're going to have different sets of multi-meshes so that they can be turned invisible. Let's see, I might be able to answer that question for you. All right, let's keep going. We're in C, well, C is less than 10, C++. I think I am going to have to do it that way. Okay, let's just keep going. Multi-meshes, going to toss a default on that. No default for that. Type annotations needed. Oh, that should be char. And multi-mesh, we just need to import that. Okay. Now, for each one of these, we have to look that up. If it's not there, we'll get it from the font data and initialize it. All right. We're going to use the entry API on hash map again. Self.multimeshes.entry. Give it our character that we're going to be inspecting. Let's see. Now, on this, I think I want the insert or insert with. There we go. With the function. We'll provide the default for it if it does not exist. And at the end, we will have multi-mesh. Multi-mesh will be equal to that. Then this goes inside that. How to save. Not adding that as a child yet. So here's our mesh. Now we have to create the multi-mesh. I think we're going to, let's see, multi-mesh, what is that type? These probably need to be ref unique. Look at, not that. GD native, yes. I don't know if multi-mesh is going to be a ref counted instance or not. Oh, it is. Okay. Because it's not a scene object. That's right. Things that they usually put in the scene in Godot are not reference counted. So an SQL query walks into a bar, sees two tables, and asks, "Can I join you?" All right. Well, that one's bad. I'm gonna pour some tea real quick. It is chilly in here. Just by being in here, I think I'm warming up the place. Not by very much though. It's like 48 degrees. This is hot tea. All right. I think it's like a chai variant. It's got some ginger in it. Rectangle? I have not heard of rectangle. Oh, that's a terrible thing to search for. It's good? Might try that out then. All right. Yeah, I've been using size up for setting the sizes of windows. That and Apple script. So now we have to create an instance of a multi-mesh. And that's going to be a ref. It'll be unique. I think we can call set mesh. Yes, and we give it a mesh, which is going to be our mesh. There, and then we can just return multi-mesh. Oh, of course, the ref type. This is because this is a ref unique. N-I-Q-U-E. There we go. All right. Ah, yes. And then if this fails, what? No, that's not going to fail. If that's a none, what do we do? So ideally, we could define this out here. We just set the mesh inside. So we're always going to have a multi-mesh. All right, now we'll use that. We need to get a mesh instance, a multi-mesh instance from a multi-mesh. I like the documentation in Godot better. I also like that it's local. Oh, that's cool, Tommy. Control Alt Enter for maximizing window, not full screen. Oh, that's awesome. I like that it's open source too. Okay, it looks like I instantiate one of these and then set the multi-mesh. But a new one of those. Uh-oh. Glove's got me again. Does it set multi-mesh? We'll set the multi-mesh. Now we should be able to add that as a child, the mesh instance. It's going to be the wrong type because it's not shared. Oh, multi-mesh instance is not in scope. That's odd. Multi-mesh instance, it's in the API. Did I misspell it? Multi-mesh instance. Looks good. Alright, let's import it. That needs to be true, and then this, the wrong type. The trait bound. That needs to be a tref, I think. I call asref on that to get the tref. Oh, you know what? Let's go back one. Back to multi-mesh. See, this wants to impl as arg. Is that a Godot thing? Yes, it is. Okay, and what impls this? Yeah, shared references. Oh, it's there for unique ref. Okay. So what do we have? In this case, we have our multi-mesh is a unique ref. That I thought would work. Ref unique. Okay. To a multi-mesh. Let's look at the larger error. Oh, it needs to be mutable? Oh, okay. Oops, wrong one. Come back over here. That needs to be mutable. Hmm. What are we missing? The trait bound. So this got updated. It's on a watch. The trait as arg multimesh is not implemented for that. But this is a ref unique to multimesh. Is it just this here that it's a ref to a ref? Oops. Want to leave that going. Want to deref that? Yeah, I'm not going to be able to clone that. I mean, I could. But the unique instance, we're only going to get a reference out of the hash map for this. So if we wanted to be able to clone that and pass that in, we're going to have to clone it. I'm going to call into shared on that. Which I think at this point it's still giving us the wrong type. Let's extract that into a variable so we can see what this is. Oops. Rename that to, I don't know, shared. Cannot move out of that. Because it does not implement the copy trait. Yes. So we're going into shared, which takes ownership, doesn't it? Yeah, it takes self. Okay, so maybe we should just store these as shared and not unique. All right, which means that here, where we insert this to shared, that means we can get rid of that line there. We have multi-mesh still. Oh. But now we have a reference to that, and we can clone it. Clone the reference, that should be cheap enough. Doesn't need to be mutable. Why not? Oh, because Godot. Godot does a lot of interior mutability. A lot of these, we don't have to make them mutable when we would have otherwise needed to. Well, that looks like it's going to compile. We'll test that out. Okay. Let's get rid of this element there. Kill that. Godot. This is Godot. Godot engine. We're programming in Rust, creating a library that this then loads up. Let's resize that. There we go. OBS didn't follow along. Fix that. There we go. Okay. Now here, this should be the output of it. Godot. We open up the scene for text. What do I call it? Screen. We have our text node. Got this, so let's change that. Oops. Get a W. I just want a W. Not seeing any W's here. Let's look and see if the triangle count, the vertices change this. Does not appear to. Now that should have been called. We're getting the set text called. Let's double check. Set text is here. We save the text. We self-render. If is in tree. Okay, I'm not seeing anything get added here. That's odd. Let's see, sub-resources. No, okay, that's fine. I mean, it feels like it's not adding these characters. Let's debug this a little bit. Okay, we'll just debug those. Get that built again, reload it. Hopefully we will see this. Okay, I'm gonna close down Godot for a moment. Okay. First, should be gone now. Godot's gone. Run it again. Alright, open that scene. For text. That is not causing output. Oh. What is this? Oh, that's just projects are missing, blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's fine. But it's a little bothersome that changing this text doesn't actually cause the debug to run. Let's see. Property, after set, we call self-render. So render should have been called. Godot debug our print. I wonder why it's not picking that up, because that should be working. We've got this. Does this need to be exported? Oh, it's not exported. That might be the issue. That is one of the things that is a little sketchy about the interface here, is that Godot itself does not always scream when things go poorly. Okay, so let's reload that DLL, quit the project list. This is usually all it takes. Load that up again. I like Godot. Godot is, I think, really well designed and targeting a good audience. See, I want to open screen. There it is. Let's go back to scene 1. Okay. Is that getting called? It's not getting called. Okay. Do an export here. How is it performance-wise compared to other engines? Well, how? Here's a different question. How much performance do you need for the game that you're making? That, I think, is a very important question to answer before the other bits. Because many games do not need insane performance. Oh, Glyph doesn't implement that. Fine. Most games are badly optimized. I think that Godot actually does a really good job in terms of striking a balance between it running in so many different places and performance. V4, which they're currently working on, is insane. They received some funding and have implemented some crazy cool GLSL, global illumination, which just makes things look great. Now you can switch between like GLES 2 and GLES 3 here for your projects. So if you want to target some older hardware, you can. Go to project list. There we go. I am not using V4 with Rust. No. I am targeting a bigger audience. And my game doesn't need V4, right? This game is simple, right? It's a really simple game. It's really just a keypad. It's a little bit more UI. Okay. Let's see if this is gonna. Oh, here we go. This is a test. Okay, things are working now. Oh, and we have mesh instances and stuff. Now let's see if we can see them. I don't see them. Are they huge? No. Okay. Backface culling. I do not see the meshes. It does look like they were created though. All right. Well, maybe if this worked up here. Guess we could do mesh. Does that have debug? Probably not. Oh, it does. So that's one of the possibilities, is that it's just not going into that branch. Although, I don't see why it wouldn't. A little bit more debugging would show us why it's not going in there. What else could it be? It could be that the mesh instance doesn't have texture or something else. Godot-Rust is going to wait until 4 is closer, right? Until it gets to like release candidates and stuff like that. Just no point in chasing a moving target. Okay, let's go back into the scene. Oh, it's not going in there. It here. It's an array mesh. And then sometimes it didn't go in there. Oh, because it already had those characters. So we can give it a character that it doesn't have. Delete that. We can give it like a W or something. Yeah, Okay, so it's operating correctly. And there's just something about the mesh that we don't see. That's fine. Let's see, if we go to game, this game has a keypad, keypad has a screen, and screen has some text, WASD. Great. We're going to try to run that so that we can attach remote to it. Good. We can drill down keypad, screen, text. Hi. Good. Here's our multi-mesh instances. Multi-mesh. Oh, it says the multi-mesh is empty. I don't know if I can trust that. Multi-mesh override. Did I forget to wire that up? We call set mesh. Set multi-mesh. Okay, it might be lying. Let's double check. Let's set the mesh to something else. And multi-mesh. Empty. Okay, it set it back to something else. But it is creating them, so that's good. They are attached where we expect them to be. So we could set up some material. Just looking to see if they're cold, like backface calling. I'm guessing it has to do with the multi-mesh bits. So here we have a multi-mesh instance. Yeah, I'm probably doing that piece wrong. Oh, holy cow, my battery's low. Okay, hopefully that helps. Okay, so in here, there's Azarg. You don't like the 2-in-1s, huh? Actually, I'm not familiar with that. Multi-mesh. We could ask it for its instance count. So that's the mesh to be drawn. So if we have a multi-mesh, we could be able to get the mesh instance off of it that way. Okay. Set mesh. I mean, it feels like it's in here, like this spot right here. Oh, 40 more minutes, nice. Oh, it gets too hot. Oh, wow. It sucks. Guess we could set the visible count. I thought it would be -1 by default. Instance count. Clears and resizes the buffers. By default, all instances are drawn. You can limit this. Okay. Well, it looks like we should be able to just call mesh off of that. Well, that's if we wanted that mesh. Let's look at the multi-mesh instance. And if this doesn't reveal anything, then we'll look at one of their examples. Okay, safety, yada yada, okay. So we can get and set the multi-mesh, and that's it. Of course, there are the other derefs that it can go into. I think it's kind of crazy that Apple has started making their own CPUs. I mean, it's a cool idea. It's really, really cool. I wonder if it's going to change the pricing on their stuff, because they can basically, source that end to end, that portion of it. Get a much tighter integration between their software and their hardware. Oh, just installing Rust on it. All right, we were calling set multi-mesh. That should do it. Let's do a DBG, or let's do a Godot debug for the multi-mesh, the instance count. What was it called? Yeah, just instance count. There was another ARM processor being developed, wasn't there? Outside of Apple? I forget who was doing it. Oh. Assume safe, dot that. Unsafe. What's that on there and there? I mean, it feels like that's wrong there. Let's see. Okay, so we're going to run that. Microsoft just announced follow suit. I wonder what that takes. Like, that's got to take years to set that up. I imagine Google is, but for different reasons. Right, for servers. All right, upper or right, other side. There we go. Remote, game, keypad. Okay, so I'm running it. Screen, text. It's saying that the instance count is 0. Even though this has, 0 text. Let's give it something. But that has not changed the instance count. There's a number more meshes here. So the multi-mesh isn't getting set properly. Interesting. Okay, let's look at their documentation on that then. I'm gonna go ahead and close Godot for a bit. Three to 5 years, 5 to 7. mean, there's got to be so much stuff like involved in creating CPUs. It's just not. It's a lot of a lot of stuff to set up. So we're going to go to the Godot documentation on this. Multi-mesh, optimizing 3D performance using multi-mesh. Okay, GLES 2, it's a little slower, of course. So they create the new multi-mesh. Oh, the transform format. I did not do that. Set the format first. That might be important. Then resize. Otherwise, changing the format is not allowed. I mean, can't we just set it to -1? Okay, so let's do that. So we have transform format. Yeah, I'm just gonna snag that for a moment. Oh, you know what? I mean, that's neat and all, but how do we get it attached to the scene? Because it needs to be attached somewhere. And a multi-mesh is not a node, so it can't be on the scene. All right, well. Oh, interesting, Tommy. But 2 to 3 years, I gotta make a difference there. Holy cow, that tea is hot. Oh my goodness. All right. All right, so this is what we're up to. Comment that out. All right, so we're creating the multi-mesh. Great. We're not setting up all the defaults though. Multi-mesh dot set transform format. Multi-mesh transform 3D. Yes, we want a 3D one. Set color format. Color none, I guess. Not doing anything with color at the moment. Mesh. Let's see. They say custom data none. Custom data none. Sure. All right. So we've done those. Now, do we have to do the instance count? I usually just use Explore. What's the difference between that and the S version? It's Explore. Oh, it's a split. It's doing a split with Explore. And they also have V-Explore. Yeah, so it's doing a horizontal split. V-Explore is doing a vertical split. Split down the middle like this. And the other one just takes it over. If you just do Explore, that's the whole screen, the whole buffer. It's like those dirty devs, like, it's usually a little bit more pragmatic. It's just a naming collision. All right. Set instance count. Sure, 10,000. Why not? Of each character. Nobody ever needs more than 10,000 A's. Set visible count. And I also use case insensitive searching on these. That works pretty well. And if you want to check out, dot files are here, and then we also have pretty dot files. And those are Xenochrons. Okay, so let's try this out. Did it build? It did build. Back over here. I just saw that my power's gone down again. Which? Okay. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. And it's Common Controls X. Yep. And they're gonna have an EX2 as well. That'll run. Okay. A remote inspect on this. Okay, instance count is 10,000. Screen text. Text is set to null. Don't quite trust it. This is a test is being set. No, still not there. Whoa, 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 what's that? What's that? Go back. Stop. There's something big out there. What is that? I just want to scroll. Can I click on it? Looks like it. What was that? Okay, I zoomed too far out. Let's see, focus selection. Godot is not happy about this.